this, but you look no further than the statement put out by the Kenosha Professional Police Association, who said, and I'm quoting here, "As always, the video currently circulating does not capture all the intricacies of a highly dynamic incident. We ask that you withhold from passing judgment until all the facts are known and released."
And so I will be announcing today the question of whether the District Attorney's Office, in its professional judgment, feels that there is sufficient admissible evidence to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that Officer Shesky or any of the other Kenosha officers shot Jacob Blake unlawfully or committed any other offense. That no Kenosha law enforcement officer in this case will be charged with any criminal offense based on the facts and the laws as I will describe them to you now. So it is our decision that no charge will be filed.
Ahead of your trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow, last week your running mate, Senator Harris, said that the officer who shot Jacob Blake, based on what she has seen, should be charged. Do you agree with her, and do you also believe the same for the officers who were involved in the death of Breonna Taylor?
I think we should let the judicial system work its way. I do think there's a minimum need to be charged, the officers, and as well as Breonna Taylor. What I saw in that video makes me sick. Once again, a black man, Jacob Blake, has been shot by the police in broad daylight with the whole world watching. You know, I spoke to Jacob's mom and dad, sister, and other members of the family just a little bit earlier, and I told them justice must and will be done.
Some of the basic facts that have been learned so far in the investigation. Law enforcement deployed a taser to attempt to stop Mr. Blake, but the taser was not successful in stopping him. Mr. Blake walked around his vehicle, opened the driver's side door. During the investigation following the initial incident, Mr. Blake admitted that he had a knife in his possession, and DCI agents, that's the Division of Criminal Investigation, recovered a knife from the driver's side floorboard of Mr. Blake's vehicle.
I do think there's a minimum need to be charged, the officers, and as well as Breonna Taylor.
They didn't say why they were there?
They didn't say anything to me.
Did they tell you that they had a warrant for your arrest?
No.
Some sort of struggle follows. Police believe Blake is reaching for a weapon more than once. Blake denies this. Police deploy a taser multiple times. Blake pulls the taser prongs out of his skin. Officer Shesky and Blake end up in a physical altercation on the ground.
We see you walk away from the officers after they try to grab you.
I'm rattled, you know. I realized I had dropped my knife. I had a little pocket knife. So I picked it up after I got off of him because they tased me and I fell on top of him.
With an open knife in hand that Blake says fell out of his pocket, he walks around the front of the vehicle towards the driver's side door.
What are you thinking at that point?
I'm not really worried. I'm walking away from them, so it's not like they're gonna shoot me.
That's right, Wolf. Well, there are a lot of investigations playing out right now trying to figure out what led up to Jacob Blake being shot. But what we do know for sure is that people are angry. They have expressed that anger through demonstrations, and you look no further than the video to see why. Again, a warning, what you're about to see may be considered graphic. You see Jacob Blake walking around his car, followed by at least 2 officers. And then as the door to the driver's side opens and he starts to get in the car, that is when the officer behind him opens fire 7 times in a row from point blank range, really as close as you can get as far as those shots go. Now, as far as we know right now, Blake is still alive in serious condition. And as we understand from both his attorney and from a friend close to the family, that he is still in the ICU at this hour. But again, a lot of anger and frustration over how this is unfolded as we still look for more answers.
I'm wondering why you think that is that he hasn't actually addressed it. There's obviously a lot we do not know about the circumstances around it, but the video obviously has been out there.
Well, look, I don't know enough to know whether that 17-year-old kid exactly what he did, but allegedly he's part of a militia coming out of the state of Illinois.
Meanwhile, authorities have arrested an Illinois teenager after 2 people were shot and killed during protests a day earlier. 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse faces a first-degree intentional homicide charge. His online footprint appears to show a strong support for law enforcement.
Part of a militia.
It's not clear whether he was part of any organized group, but before the shooting, he explained why he was armed.
Our job is to protect this business. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously.
We were told that Jacob Blake was shot in the back, unarmed. He was just trying to break up a fight, and now they shot him and paralyzed him. Now, an update to the story. In his first television interview since he was shot by the cops last August in Wisconsin, Jacob Blake has admitted what we told you then. He was armed. He had a knife in his possession at the time of the shooting, but also dropped it before picking it up again. Blake made that admission to Good Morning America yesterday during his first television interview since the shooting took place in August. As we said, he's now paralyzed from that. Watch.
You walk away from the officers after they try to grab you.
I'm rattled. You know, I realized I had dropped my knife. I shouldn't have picked it up, only considering what was going on.
But at the time, the family, the attorneys, everybody, and particularly the media, told us a very different story. They told us it for months. He was unarmed. On August 24th, for example, CNN reported the police shooting of an unarmed black man, Jacob Blake, and we're quoting there. 2 days later, a CNN political analyst called April Ryan tweeted this, quote, "In households across this nation, black families are having talks with their kids about why yet another unarmed black man, hashtag Jacob Blake, was shot by police, exclamation point." So for months, they terrified the country. April Ryan and people like that in our news media terrified American families, particularly American black families. You could be shot for no reason, unarmed. On January 5th, not that long ago, the Washington Post ran this headline: "Police officers won't be charged in shooting of Jacob Blake, an unarmed black man who was shot 7 times in the back in Kenosha, Wisconsin." Now, we just want to pause and remind you yet again, we reported on this show what the police said at the time. He was armed. We had that information. It was public information. The Washington Post lied about it. So did CNN. So did virtually every news organization in this country. Again, after it was announced the officer wouldn't face charges last week, MSNBC kept repeating the lie. Watch.
No charges will be brought against the police officer or any of the police officers involved in the shooting of Jacob Blake. He was an unarmed black man who was shot.
Viewers may recall an officer shot Blake in the back 7 times while he was unarmed.
Another example of African Americans not receiving equal protection of law. Mr. Blake was unarmed at the time that he was shot.
Oh, it's all such a lie. And they knew it was a lie. And they told it anyway, to divide the country to make themselves more powerful. And by the way, left out all kinds of other contexts, too. Blake had an outstanding warrant on charges like trespassing, disorderly conduct, third-degree sexual assault. We told you that at the time. They didn't. They didn't care that Kenosha burned for weeks because of the lies they told. The whole point of this was to provide cover for politicians like Kamala Harris, politicians whose whole careers are predicated on the lie that America is a deeply racist country. People say they're proud of people like Jacob Blake. That was the goal. By the way, it worked.
If you're just joining us, we're following breaking news. The Milwaukee Bucks have announced that they are boycotting their playoff game in the NBA that was supposed to be happening right now. They're doing this because of the shooting by a white police officer. Nia, this is a huge moment, and it's coming just hours before Vice President Pence, who has made an issue, a political issue, of opposing those NFL players, those football players, who take a knee during the national anthem so as to protest police brutality and racial inequity. I remember him going to a Colts game and storming out angrily because he didn't like that the Colts, some of them had taken a knee. I believe it was the Colts.
Vice President walked out of a football game between the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers after some players knelt during the national anthem.
I remember him going to a Colts game and storming out angrily.
Vice President walked out.
Vice President walked out.
Football game between the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers after some players knelt during the national anthem.
I remember him going to a Colts game and storming out angrily because he didn't like that the Colts, some of them had taken a knee. I believe it was the Colts. And he was going to, I think, address this the taking a knee issue in his speech tonight. And here we have the NBA taking it one huge step forward.
Mike Pence went to a football game, kind of. So, of course, he was the governor of Indiana before he became vice president. My favorite thing that I quote every once in a while is that in introducing him at the RNC, they said, oh, everybody in Indiana knows Mike. He's got a nickname there. We call him Mike. No, that's not a nickname. That's his actual name.
You stupid. Are you stupid?
You stupid bitch.
You're a stupid motherfucker.
This is Jeopardy! Introducing today's contestants.
Was Sink Uger. I don't know what a Sink Uger is.
The answer is, what is the most common nickname for the first name Michael?
They said, oh, everybody in Indiana knows Mike. He's got a nickname there. We call him Mike. No, that's not a nickname. That's his actual name.
I don't know where a Sink Uger works.